Hi everyone. This is the first of several makeup presentations that I will be using to attempt to recreate some of what we would have done in an intensive seminar. Some of them will be PowerPoints like this one, some will be activities on the discussion page of the Canvas site, and some will be other, even more creative things. If you have any difficulty using this presentation or any questions about the content, you should feel free to email me, call me, stop by, grab me in the hall, whatever. So this first presentation is focused on goal setting to give you some advice in preparation for the that you have due on Friday. So my goal for this very short presentation really is to answer two questions. The first question is, why are we doing this? Why set goals at all? And in answering that question, I'm going to be relying on the research from the goal setting theory article that I had you read for the intensive. So this should be mostly review. And as you read that article, you're going to find a lot more than the sort of high points that I'll be emphasizing here. The second question that I want to answer is a more practical one, and that is, how do I get started? How do I set goals for myself? And how do I use the skills proficiency work that I just completed? So to answer that, we're going to be looking at some data from the whole class. That is your aggregate self-assessment scores. And with that, we're going to do a little practice setting for the whole group. So first, let's look at those statistics. So this chart is simply average scores across each of the skills areas that you assessed using the online skills assessment tool. So across the bottom, the x-axis, you're going to see the skills areas. Those should look familiar to you, right? Written communication, legal research, workplace skills. Within those, you ranked your proficiency in various more specific skills. On the vertical axis, you see numbers that correspond to the proficiency scale that you used. It is from 1 to 6. To help orient you or remind you what those proficiency levels meant, let me add a couple of pieces of information. So a 4 on the proficiency scale means I'm able to perform this skill in a live environment, that is outside of the classroom, but with live parties and clients. And I'm able to do that with only a little bit of help, right? So 3 is a novice. Now, I feel able to do this in a live environment, but I need a lot of help. So between 3 and 6, you are saying in the assessment that I can do this in a live environment outside the classroom. Below 3, you're saying I don't feel ready yet to do that in a live environment. So this data shows that on average, you're feeling pretty good about your written communication, legal research, workplace skills. You're saying I can do those with only a little bit of help live. Now, as we start talking about things like client counseling, ethical decision making, factual research, if you're saying, I need a lot of help with those, but I think I can do them in a live environment. And as we get down to public policy, negotiation, trial advocacy, business transactions, you're saying as a group, I don't feel yet ready to do those live, but I can do them in a simulated environment in the classroom. Okay, that's good information. And that's all it is information. So let's go back about the theory. What is a goal? So think about that for a second. How do you answer that question? Let me give you the answer to that question that the article provides, which is not necessarily the only answer to the question. The article says the goal is the object of an action. Now, I like this definition because it suggests that a goal is more than merely a task, more than an action, but the intended outcome of that action or the purpose of that action. So as you're thinking about setting goals, I would encourage you to think beyond the tasks that you will be doing, but the why am I doing these tasks? So Here's to make it more concrete. Let's try a couple. So observing 10 trials, is that a goal? And I would say that is not. That is a set of tasks, a set of activities, an action, but it doesn't answer the question, what am I trying, where am I trying to go with these observations? So let's try another one. Improve my trial skills. Okay, that looks closer. By the end of the semester, I will be able to conduct direct examination without help from my supervisor, even more concrete. I would say that both of these are goals, one much more specific and concrete than the other. And we'll talk more about the advantages of that. So the next question, what is goal setting? So here's a definition of that I think is useful. You're setting goals, and what you're doing is intentionally creating some dissonance between the current state and the desired state. And that creates a motivation for you to move from that current state to the desired state. So what you're doing is on purpose making yourself uncomfortable with the current state. So in order to be able to set a goal, you have to know what the current level of performance is. Where are you now? This is why you did the skills assessment. So let's look again. As a whole, in this class, where should we focus? You don't necessarily have to focus on the areas in which the proficiency level is lower. You can absolutely decide that my written skills I feel confident about, but I want to bump them up to the next level. You can also say, you can look at the lower scored areas and say, I want to be able to do those in a live environment. So say we focused on negotiation. The class as a whole is saying, I feel like I can do it in a classroom, but I'm not yet ready to do it live. So for the purpose of this presentation, let's say that we selected negotiation. So one more little piece of information about goal theory. Before we start thinking about what a goal should look like, we want to understand how that mechanism works. How do goals improve performance? So one thing we know from the research on goal setting is that goals improve improve focus. That seems intuitive, right? You set a goal and you're going to have something to look at, a place you know you're going. Second, and I think most importantly, goals help you remember what you already know. So that when you say, I took civil procedure in the first year, but I can't seem to remember the principles. What a goal will help you do is to bridge that gap. You still have that knowledge. It's just a question of accessing it. Goals help with that. The third thing is that goals inspire persistence. What we know is people are able to stay with a project, a task longer if they have a goal associated with it. And likewise, it inspires more effort. So those are all good things. And then what do we know about the kinds of goals that work to improve performance? Well, the first thing we know is that goals should be set in a challenging way. There is a linear correlation between the difficulty of the goal and the performance improvement. It should be realistic, but still aggressive. So the goal should be specific. So really should reference a particular object or outcome. So do my best type goals, we know they don't work. And then finally, as concrete as possible. And this is so you know when you've gotten there. Sometimes I will talk about goals, but I don't mean that you need to be able to measure the goal in numbers. All I mean is that I want you to know when you get there. Okay. And then finally, what gets in the way? These seem pretty intuitive, right? The kinds of things that will interrupt the relationship between goal setting and performance improvement are lack of feedback, right? If your commitment is not as strong to the goal, if you don't have control, right? You can't actually do the tasks that would help you get there, or if the goals are set beyond your ability. So, in each of these areas, I've done some things to help you. The first, on feedback. There's a feedback prompt on the skills assessment form on part 2, and that is there, so you have to talk to your supervisor about a concrete, recurring feedback mechanism. It's easy to say, oh, we talk all the time, which is true, and there's nothing wrong with having a weekly meeting or even more frequently than that. Loose commitment. So this is why I have you write down the goal, and your supervisor's on board too. They provide you with either their signature or the authorization to put their initials down on the form. Lack of control. If you find yourself in a situation where you're not getting the quantity of assignments that you need to get to your goal, let me know. I can help. And then finally, setting goals beyond ability. Your skills assessment is designed to help you see that. But don't sell yourself short. You can very likely do more than you think you can do. Back to setting a goal. Let's assume that we're going to focus on the lowest scoring area, and that is negotiation. So here is the current state by the individual skill within the negotiation category. And I'm not going to answer the question for you, but take a look at this. And so here's your assignment. Use the data we have to set one goal that meets the criteria that we know work. That is, the goal should be aggressive, difficult. It should be specific, and it should be concrete. You should know when you got there. And once you have the goal, post it to the discussion board on Canvas. There'll be a discussion that's called group goal setting, and post your proposed goal there. And once the goals are posted, I'm going to arrange for all of you to vote on which one you like best for the class. Once you've set your individual goals, so that's not the group goal, but your 2, 3, maybe 4 difficult, concrete, and specific goals, write them down on part 2 of the skills assessment tool. I would encourage you to talk the goals over with a colleague or a friend. And I will be more than happy to talk you through it if you'd like to review those with me. And then meet with your supervisor. Talk over the goals, the associated tasks, and that will allow you to fill out part 2 of the goals assessment tool, the skills assessment tool, and initial it. Have your supervisor initial it, post it to Canvas, and you're done. If you have any difficulty with the timeline, the Friday deadline, remember, so much easier to ask for an extension in advance than just turn it in late and get dinged for that. So, everybody, and let me know if you have any questions at all.